I would like to welcome you to Chain today. My name's Rosie. I chair the Greater Manchester IMechE Young Members Panel, and also the pleasure of chairing the Chain event today. Thank you for joining, and yeah, it's a pleasure to welcome you as chair. Also with a very special theme this year, which is sustainability, and a topic that I'm very passionate about myself. I believe that education is the first step to action, and it really changes our mindsets and behaviours. That's my favourite takeaway from the COP26 Climate Change Conference in Glasgow. I was able to attend that at the very start of my career as a graduate, and I've not had a single moment or a day that has really changed my perspective on my thinking and my view of the world than that particular conference. So I want, and it really changed the way that I focus on sustainability in my personal life and also my career, which I have transitioned from a mechanical engineer to a full-time sustainability professional last year. So I wanted to bring this idea of a climate change conference to Manchester and use my networks through volunteering with the regional IMechE groups to try and make something similar and bring it to life. Manchester is not only where I call home, it's also the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution, which not only provided exponential economic and industrial growth and engineering excellence, but also where we started 150 years ago, starting to pump all this CO2 into the atmosphere. So we'd say that we have responsibilities to try and change something and do something about it. And that's what we kind of want, the message we want to push it through today. It was also 10 years ago that Nick Valentine started off these chain events here in Manchester over at MMU, and it's a real pleasure to try and bring this back after a couple of breaks through COVID. When I was introduced to Chain through Nick, I kind of realised that we had similar goals of trying to engage and inspire young engineers in the local region and trying to make a difference. And therefore, this chain with the theme of sustainability was born 3 years later from this initial concept I had, and with 6 months of planning going into this from our team of cross-disciplinary engineers to really make this happen. So we've designed this conference to be the same spark of inspiration that I had over at COP26, a chance to explore, connect, and discover your own path to make a difference today. As young engineers, your voice matters. Advocate for change, collaborate, and remember, while none of us can do it alone, together we have the power to engineer a sustainable future. Thank you for listening to this welcome address. Cool. I would like to hand over to Nick Valentine, as I mentioned, co-founder of Chain, and he's here to speak and do a small introduction.
Right, brilliant. Morning, everyone. Welcome to Chain Manchester 2025. So I'm Nick Valentine. I founded Chain about 10 years ago in Manchester, although these events now take place all over the world. This is where it all started. So we run events all over from Malaysia, Dubai, Glasgow, London, but Manchester is where it all started. As Rosie said, it's great to have it back. So I'm sorry I can't be there, but thank you very much for making the time to attend on the weekend. And in particular, thank you to the organising team for pulling it together. I've seen how much the team have worked over the past 6 months and more. So this year's Chain Manchester is all about sustainability, and we hope it inspires you and you come away with some new connections and opportunities. So what actually is this all about? What is Chain all about? Why we're here? So you can see our aims up there, but Chain is a unique event and it's all about building the young engineering community in a local area, and in particular helping you get ahead in your engineering career. So when I was a student at the University of Salford, we realised there were loads of different groups all trying to do things for engineers in general across the area. We really wanted to champion all of these events that were taking place and give a showcase of all these different organisations and what you can get out of them. And so we decided to run an event that brings them all together on one stage. And so please make use of all these organisations and individuals that have been brought together today. This is one of the very few times that you'll see them all in one place. I think Chain is still one of the early ones where you get so many different institutions all in one place. And when we tried to do this 10 years ago, it was quite unusual and it was quite hard to get them all in one place because they were all a bit suspicious of each other. But over the past 10 years, that attitude has really changed, and we're seeing a lot more collaboration between these organisations. So it's really quite inspiring. So why have we brought them all together? So we brought them all together to share knowledge and experience across disciplines. And although they're from these different disciplines, you might spot similar themes coming up across the talks. Although it isn't necessarily planned, what I found in the past is that despite all these different disciplines, we think they'd all be approaching it from different perspectives. You do see these different themes, like common themes coming up, and it's really quite interesting. Although we're siloed almost immediately, at least that was my experience, as soon as you got into university, it was placed into different disciplines immediately, and yet when we come back together, it's exactly the same sort of mindset, the same challenges, and quite often the same, people are tackling them in the same sort of way, and because of that we can share our own different experiences and be inspired by each other's stories. We also want to get these organisations together so that there are opportunities to build connections and build those possibilities for cooperation between these organisations in the local area. We want to provide an opportunity for networking between young engineers, and in particular provide a networking opportunity outside of those communities which you normally work and live within, and to help understand these different engineering institutions and what they do, what they're really adding, how they can help you. And it's simply a chance for learning more about our profession and our developing as engineers. But to summarise all of that, we hope that through the stories that you hear today, you come away inspired with some new connections and that you learn more about the benefits of volunteering and how, in particular, you can get involved in Manchester and in your local area. And these are just some of the organisations that have joined us on Chain's journey over the past 10 years, and some of these are here today. So please do make the most of them while they're here in one place. And while the field of engineering is wide-ranging in the number of disciplines, as I said, see if you can identify any common topics in the way engineers from different disciplines are fighting climate change. So that is all from me. And if you'd like to find out more about how you get involved with Chain, or you simply have any ideas or suggestions, just get in touch using this email address. Once again, thank you very much for attending, and we hope you have a fantastic day.
Thank you very much, Nick, for the introduction to Chain there. We're sorry you can't attend in person, but very happy to have you here with us today.
No worries, have a good day, everyone.
Thank you very much. There we go. So now I'd like to welcome up Simon Cooling, a Master of Ceremonies, our host for today's event. Simon is Vice Chair of the Greater Manchester IMechE Young Members Panel and a Project Engineer working at Murphy's. So welcome, Simon.
Great. Thanks, Rosie. Oh, okay. It's good to see you all here this morning. There's a lot more of you than I was expecting, so that's a good thing. No, thanks for attending. Really, I see you're all here to learn a little bit more about sustainability. I mean, sustainability is a topic, just to reiterate a few points that Rosie and Nick talked about earlier. We hear the word sustainability used in all walks of life in, our day and age. But us as engineers, we provide that tangible reality to what sustainability can be for the future. So throughout the course of today, you'll hear from a variety of different disciplines and well-respected individuals in their respective industries as to how they're providing those tangible solutions in their daily work. One point I'd specifically like to emphasise is just the topic of collaboration. So one issue I face in my kind of daily role as a mechanical engineer is collaboration, and it's very rare that you see this number of institutions coming together to share and learn from each other. So please take away as much as you can from that in that regard. So in terms of just some key takeaways, I'd encourage you to focus on. Hopefully by the end of today, you'd come away learning a little bit more about sustainability and how it's practically applied in industry. Secondly, around networking. So there'll be various opportunities today to network with various individuals. One thing I like to tell the people I manage and work with as part of the IMECI is, you are your own brand. I'm sure you've all heard that before. And another common phrase is, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So please do have that mindset in mind when you're talking to each other. Take points away from the presentations today and, ask each other questions, stimulate debate. That's what we need in this day and age to really promote sustainability. So they're just some key points I want to emphasise. In terms of, before I hand over to the next speaker, so quick overview in terms of programme. So we've pretty much ticked off the welcome and introduction to housekeeping. So we'll start off, the day is structured in two halves. There's a morning session and afternoon session. In both sessions are separated by a lunch break where you have a good opportunity to network and go walk around the stalls downstairs. In the break sessions as well, there'll be teas and coffees downstairs. Unfortunately, you can't eat in this lecture theatre, so you'll just have to make do with that. Rosie's mentioned about toilets and stuff, but I'll kind of keep that and let you know when the breaks are happening. Also, in terms of Q&A, so after each presentation, there'll be the opportunity to ask the speakers questions. I'll talk to you a bit more as to how that's going to be structured, but effectively, we're using a software called Mentimeter, where you enter a code and you ask a question. You put the speaker's name as a reference if you want a specific question for the speaker, or you can just keep it general and put no name. So I'll guide you through that as we go throughout the day. So enough from me. I'll hand over to our first institution, professional institution, the Institute of Civil Engineers, presented by Hannah.
Morning, everyone. So I'm here today from the ICE, specifically the Northwest Early Careers Network. I'm Hannah. I'll give you an overview of myself before I go into the committee. So I've been working in engineering for 4 years. I work for a company called Costain, and I joined the committee as a graduate, and I'm now working as a civil structural engineer. The ICE as a whole, so it's the oldest professional engineering body. It was founded in 1818. We have approximately 97,000 members globally. We've got members from vast backgrounds. I mean, just in this room, we've got Ollie, geotechnical, Lewis in the Bridges team, there's from nuclear, Juliana working in energy. So we cover a lot of the subsections within civil engineering. And if you are a student studying civil structural engineering or anything that I've just mentioned, you can join the ICE free as a student member. So the ICE's split up into regional areas. So the Northwest, we're a group of about 30 people, and we range in experience levels from apprentices, graduates, people getting ready to sit professional reviews, technicians. They're the areas we cover, and then we've also got branches that cover them. So say you're in University in Manchester, but you live in Merseyside, you can be part of both. And what are the type of events we do? So we do socials and networking, so that's things like pub quizzes. There's also lectures and lunch and learns, competitions and on challenges. So in February we've got the construction challenge that we're hosting joint with the iStructD, and we've got the emerging engineers as well. So there'll be more information about that coming on our website, and students can also enter that. And why get involved? It's insight into the industry. It's great for networking. You get to meet people that are working in the industry. Professional development. So if you are working towards your chartership, it helps with that massively. And although we are a bunch of boring engineers, a lot of the time we are fun sometimes too. So that's the LinkedIn that you can find us on, and I've put my email up there as well. If anyone wants to reach out and have a chat about anything related to the committee, that's fine. And then our speaker for today is Kit. So Kit is a chartered engineer. She chairs the ICA Northwest region. She works for McDonald as a senior design manager. And I'm going to let Kit do the title of her talk because I don't want to butcher any of the words. I'll pass you over to Kit now.
Go over here. So, morning everyone. Thanks for coming. Thanks for having me. Wrong way. So, yeah, Kit Wolverson, and I'm going to be speaking about the third sustainability pillar, building for communities, and this is all linked to the Nyabihunyira Trailbridge. There you go. Representing the ICA, and obviously McDonald as my organisation too. So this is me, a bit more about me. So I'm a senior design manager. I've been at McDonald for 8 years. That's 8 years since graduation. So I'm maybe one of the more junior speakers today, but hopefully some of this is relatable and you can see what I've done with my career. Chartered civil engineer, so I've been chartered about 2 years with the ICE. And I've got an internal McDonald role where I lead our early career professionals across the UK and Europe. And I am the ICE Northwest Chair as of July. So lots of exciting hats and different things that I like to do. The picture on the left gives you an insight of what I'm going to speak about, but to also put this into context, I am a volunteer. I really love STEM, being a STEM ambassador, mentoring people and really getting to know our industry. I have 2 cats. I'm a cat lover, so I'm trying to personify myself and make me seem a little bit more human. I love a good book. We have a book club at work and that sort of thing. I love a Goodreads challenge and reading as many books as I can, including trash. I'm a swimmer and I'm obsessed with pizza. So whilst we all may be different engineering institutions that are presenting today, we are also human, so come and have a chat with us, speak to us about anything that we're talking about, and really sort of get to know us too. So, to set the scene, there are obviously 3 sustainability pillars. We often talk about that environmental one, carbon, the future environment, a lot around climate change. Economic, so protecting the future of our sort of financial industry for the future to come, and social. So think about this social environment that people are, where they live. Whenever someone says sustainability, we always go carbon. So I'm going for the 3rd sustainability pillar, the one that's often forgotten, about those people and how we have an impact on them through our projects. The other thing to do a bit in the same setting is the UN Sustainable Development Goals. These are 17 goals. There used to be about 25, which are how our project should target improving the socio-economic climate and sustainable climate for the people and projects that we work in. I'm setting the scene of this now, and I'll revert to it later, but maybe keep these in mind as I'm talking and think about how many the project I talk about hit. So it's all about like no poverty, clean access to water, reduce inequalities, thinking about the people and projects that we work on. You've obviously got the climate action ones, sanitation, all about our sustainable infrastructure and the communities. So this may be a theme that comes through in all the other presentations, one of those things that all of our professional institutions are working towards, and a really good thing to check ourselves on when we look about sustainability. And for the ICE, we now have to talk about the Sustainable Development Goals when we're doing our chartership and talk about how our projects link to them. So it's really become the forefront of industry. So, main body of the presentation, the Nyabihunyira Trailbridge in Rwanda. It's a mouthful to say, but it's a very fascinating project, so hopefully it will be an interesting one for you. So this was all part of Bridge to Prosperity, who are a non-governmental organisation founded in 2001, where Kenneth France saw the picture top left of people trying to cross the River Nile Bridge. So this is back in 2001. He saw this bridge picture of people trying to cross dangerously. So you can see there's people with bags on their backs, they've flung a wire across to try and cross it, and he was like, I need to do something about this. So he, as an engineer, returned with his Rotary Club and built the picture in the bottom left, providing safe access for those people to get to education, employment, healthcare. And what he then did was found Bridge to Prosperity, who take bridges like the one in the top right, that traditional timber bridge where you can see school children are trying to cross with the raging river beneath it and no safe handrailing access, to the bridge in the bottom right where you can see they've got a continual safe access strung across the valley, so higher up, less of a chance of flood and more of that safe access for them all. So I was very fortunate to be part of a Bridge to Prosperity project back in 2022. Myself and a team of 11 people from Mopdon and Balfour Beatty, who I'll introduce later, were selected to be part of this bridge team, where our bridge was that star in Rwanda, so the very far westerly, southwesterly point of Rwanda, almost the border of the Democratic Republic of Congo, as far as you can really get from the capital of Kigali. So that was an 11-hour drive to get to our bridge when we arrived, in a country that's known as the Land of a Thousand Hills. So you can see on the far right the different types of texture, the land, how undulating it is, the real sort of green and vegetative as it is, but actually the different topography we were dealing with. So we were sent there to deal with the bridge on the far right. So that was the bridge that the community that we were working with were already trying to cross. And what you don't know about Rwanda is it has 2 rainy seasons, in May and September, where a lot of rainfall falls across a really vegetative area. And people cannot use that bridge to cross. So that bridge is underwater during those times. And the year before we went, 1 person had died and 2 people had sadly lost their lives to this bridge crossing. So there was a real need for this bridge. More about what it was doing. So our bridge is now on Google Maps, and you can see it in the red, but you can also see what's in it. So I've done some crude diagrams of what's near. You can see there's several schools on either side of the valley. There's healthcare with the sort of hospital cross, and I've crudely put employment with the briefcase, but that's the markets where people were farming and taking their produce to the markets to sell and get their employment and sort of money for their families. And the schools are different. So some are primary schools, some are secondary schools. So people are really making that hour-long walk across the valleys to go to their school. So there's a real need that the bridge that I showed you previously was due for a big upgrade. So this is our team. Our team were made up of Mott MacDonald and Balfour Beatty. So Balfour Beatty are a contractor and Mott MacDonald are a consultant. And it's about our sort of cross-collaboration. So like we're collaborating today on this conference, this is how our 2 organisations get together. We each had various roles. My main role was communications lead, but as a bridge engineer by background, I was also really keen to get involved in the innovation, how we can make the bridge better, really thinking about people. Because of what I didn't say in my introductions, I became an engineer because I wanted to help people. I wanted to problem solve and help people, which is why I was so fascinated and encouraged to do this project. So we weren't just the team on the left, we were also the team on the right, that community site team. So Bridge to Prosperity really try and get the community involved in the build. We're not just a team that arrive from the UK, build a bridge, leave them to it. We actually involve the local community. It's all about getting them involved. They get paid for this time that they spend on site as well. So we had 25 members of the local community. So in total, we were a really good, strong team of 31 people, plus members of the charity. And when I talk about our team going forwards, I'm talking about all of us. So this is the design that we had. So this is getting into sort of bridge nerd territory. You've got a suspended bridge across at 78 metres, so it's quite a long stretch across the valley. What you've got is you've got a deck, that's that picture on the right. You've got a bridge deck that's hung on suspended cables and then a swinger, and that forms like a loop that you send out, and then you put the deck panels on. All of that load is transferred back to those back spans, so you can see the foundations at the end of the structure, and that's what's taking the load back into the soil and back into the sort of local rock force. So again, steep topography. So the previous bridge was just above that water level. So you can see how much higher we were taking the bridge. And that's because of climate change, knowing what the flood level would be, and that normal flood to make sure that this bridge was safe throughout that. So a few of the challenges. We arrived just after rainy season, maybe the tail end of rainy season, and you can see how rocky and vegetative our site access was. That is the car, one of the vehicles that we had to get to site on quite a 45-degree angle, and that was on the daily. Also site access by foot, so you can see how rocky it was. So we were climbing up and down that every day. It was down on the way up and up on the way back, which was fun at the end of a long working day. The local Rwandans were flying up and down this hill because they were used to it. So you get used to what your sort of environment is. You can see, so on our first day, they saw how badly we were struggling, and they fashioned us some walking sticks, which was very kind of them and accommodating, and you can see how they were helping one of the boys there. But on the first day, I fell over walking down to site, and I was like, oh, am I ready for this? Is this really how I'm going to spend the next few weeks building this bridge? So it was all a bit of a challenge, taking us out of our comfort zone. We were there to build a bridge. We were there to do something for the community. So this was just grin and bear it. The other challenges on site is you can see how narrow it is, how like green it was, but also it's still very steep. This is at bridge level, and you can see how steep those steps are. Picture in the middle is our site cabin. So we were coming down from the top of the valley to that site cabin before we even starting to build the bridge. The one in the bottom middle is the previous bridge that was reinforced to give us site access. You can still see how low-lying it is. And far right is our morning warm-up and health and safety briefing to make sure that everyone was safe every day. Bottom right is the tail end of rainy season that curtailed our programme on a couple of days. So Rwanda is very equatorial, so it's light between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m, which meant we couldn't do any working outside of those times. So we were quite restricted, and we had 2 days in a 2-week build period was when we built the main structure of the bridge, where the rain started at 2 p.m. So we lost 4 hours of working because there's no way with the type of steepness that we were dealing with that we could build during that time. Come on. There we go. So we all spoke English. A couple of us spoke French, which is the third language of Rwanda. Their first language is Kinyarwanda. Second is English. Third is French. And historically, so there's a lot of historic aspects to take with Rwanda. There was a genocide in 1994, which after the genocide they made English the second language rather than French. So historically there were different languages to be used. And when you're in the far remote areas of Rwanda, more people speak French. I was lucky that I could speak some French, so I was able to communicate with people, but we were obviously trying to brief them on the bridge that we were building. That picture top right explains how we were doing the bridge launch and what was safe and what wasn't safe for them. We made everything really big and diagrammatic. You can see how I talk quite expressively anyway, but we were saying, no, do not go here, and trying to be as clear as we could in a challenging situation. Balfour Beatty, as a contractor, have golden rules of how they like to work, and we translated these all into Kinyarwanda as well, so that we instilled a safe culture of work. And at the beginning of the build, no one wanted to wear any safety equipment, so they didn't want to wear a hard hat or gloves or goggles. But by day 4, they were telling each other when something was wrong, because we told them how important it was to be safe on site. So a little bit about what we did. So I showed you that drawing, and the charity takes responsibility for the actual bridge design. We go as a team of engineers and optimise it and try and innovate it. The typical bridge method to build it is that. They walk every single bit of the bridge out one by one. And we went, that's working at height. Both of our organisations don't like this. We're putting us at quite a lot of risk. What can we do differently here? So we devised a plan where we winched it across, so we had access to both sides of the valley. We prepped all of these swingers that I talked about previously. You can see them all lined up in the pit. And then at the other side, we had a winch that effectively just dragged them across the valley, which meant we already had a structure that we could work to, and then instead go out on the harnesses and fix it after. So then we had a safer system of work and a platform. So it's really about what we could do as engineers to do that better, to improve the safety. And then the charity has now adopted that as their standard working practices, so we see that as a big win from what we've done. Construction. So we'd done the swingers, it was now time to lay the deck panels. So that's me in the full yellow high-vis with Obed. So Obed is a member of the local community. Again, putting it back to the people. He sadly lost his father 10 years prior to crossing the bridge, so he had a lot of emotional attachment and physical need for the bridge. Myself and one of my teammates, the immediate teammates, explained how we were doing the deck laying, and then Obed and I went out with a deck panel and installed it together. And it was very much, okay, good, we're good, and lots of communication like that to make sure he was happy and that we were both doing a good job on that. And the reason we don't just build a bridge and leave is because these people are responsible for protecting the bridge for years to come, to maintain it. These bridges have only a 30-year lifespan, but the deck panels could get loose or need to be replaced. So it's not just about us building this bridge, it's about them. So after our 2-week build, it was open to a lot of joy and fibrillation, dancing, singing, a real great community spirit. They were each handed a bridge protection guide of how they look after the bridge for years to come. And there was a little bit of fear when some of the children first started crossing the bridge. It wobbles, it shakes, it's one of those swing bridges. And And then as we had left, because we had to leave and get back, they ran up to the valley and said, "Thank you so much, we love the bridge," which just made everything so worthwhile and come full circle. So back to that picture, that's the drawing we set out to achieve. And overlaid is our bridge, so you can see that we did it. And to bring that a little bit clearer, there you go. That is the bridge across the valley. You can see the river just about, but I will say how raging it gets and how high that previous bridge was. So we're really protecting that bridge and thinking about climate change for years to come. And it was all about these people. It was all about the safety we were giving them, that connection to healthcare, education and employment, and that protection that they would have this bridge. The letter on the far right is a letter from Obed thanking us, reminding us about how his dad had died with trying to cross the bridge, and really about the joy that we brought their community. It's really not about us, it's about them. And you've got the children in the bottom right picture with my colleague Hannah walking back. They were singing all of that joy. So a real sense of pride, ownership, and bringing that back together. As part of it, because we didn't want to just be a group of people that arrived and left, we went out to the school, we talked to them about engineering, we introduced cricket, we introduced netball. They loved football. Football's the national sport of Rwanda. It was all about how we then bring it. We didn't want to just be a group of strangers that they waved at a couple of mornings that would just disappear. So it's all about embedding our project with the wider community. So I'm going to reflect on some sustainability pillars. I said at the beginning to think about which ones are addressed in the project. I used this presentation as part of my chartership, and I was asked, so what sustainability pillars have you addressed? And I said, well, almost all of them, but I think these are the ones that I don't really address. So clean water and sanitation, we weren't putting in new waterways. The one around sort of clean energy, there wasn't an energy side to it. Life below water, we weren't doing anything in the water course, but a lot of the others we do hit. So zero hunger, no poverty, we were connecting people to their sort of markets, their education, their employment. Good health and well-being, we were connecting people to hospitals. Quality education, that's a no-brainer, we were connecting people to schools. Gender equality, so Rwanda has a government where it's 50-50 split men and women because of the genocide, sadly, but that's a real sort of transformational part of gender, and women going to schools and getting that, it's a real sort of strong part there. Decent work and economic growth, well, we're connecting them to education and employment again, like 9, like 10. 11, sustainable cities and communities, connecting people, making them more transformative. Climate action, we'd considered the river envelope of where we were putting the bridge, thinking about protecting them for years to come. It's higher up the valley where it's not going to degrade. Life on land, providing that access. Peace, justice and strong institutions, maybe that's the tentative one that I've put in here. I'll happy to debate it later. And partnership for the goals, so that collaboration of bringing people together and giving them a sustainable future. So to reflect, this is our bridge from above. We were really grateful to have a local company come out and do some filming with us and to really showcase it. I became an engineer because I wanted to help people. I became a civil engineer and I got into bridges because bridges connect people. This project will be the highlight of my career for forever because we connected a community of 10,500 people to education, healthcare and employment. I'll say it again. British Prosperity do that and get companies like McDonald involved because they want to spread the word about that. So I'm not just talking as the ICE and as McDonald, I'm also as an advocate for British Prosperity. There are many other fantastic organisations that do something similar. This is something that my organisation championed, but yours or in your future organisations may do something similar. I did this because I wanted to make a difference and I wanted to volunteer. I've been very lucky to have given this opportunity, and it allowed me to get my chartership, and from that I've pivoted and changed my career in a different direction. So in the introduction and on my bio it talks about Northern Powerhouse Rail, East West Rail, High Speed 2. Post chartership I went, I'd like to see a different industry now. So I now work within engineering in the healthcare sector, so working on the new hospital programme, so building a suite of new hospitals to sort of think about our hospitals and our care of our public for years to come. So again, I became an engineer because I wanted to help people. So hopefully some of this resonates, I'm more than happy to discuss any questions at the break or take questions when we come to the panel. I just want to share something that's really propelled me, allowed me to have that opportunity and to shape the future of the industry. So thank you very much.